read in the Torah about revealed miracles, the last 10 months, after a period of 209 years, it was the 210th year in Egypt, there were indisputable revealed miracles which took place. The 10 plagues were revealed miracles. The splitting of the sea was the most spectacular of the revealed miracles. The Talmud tells us that after the destruction of the first temple, the era of revealed miracles came to an end. During the second temple period, the only revealed miracle which still was in effect, which was a one-time event, was the story of Hanukkah. It was during the occupation of the Greeks, where all the oil that was used to kindle menorah was contaminated, and they had located one vial of oil with the seal of the high priest, the Kohen Gadol, which was an indication that it was not contaminated. It was only enough to burn one night, and it burnt 8 nights. But other than that, there were no other revealed miracles. Rabbi Yaakov Emden, an 18th century Torah sage, writes in his introduction to his commentary on the Siddur, however, there's one revealed miracle which continues to persist, and that is the existence of the Jewish people. No people, as I've mentioned before, have endured or experienced what we as Jews have throughout the millennia: holocausts, pogroms, displacements, persecutions, and despite all that, the scars, in the physical sense and spiritual sense, are hardly noticeable. It's miraculous. Once mentioned, there's a beautiful midrash where the Roman emperor had said to one of the great Torah sages of the Mishnaic period, Rabbi Yoshua ben Hanania, he had said to him, he says, you Jewish people, you're a tough flock. And he answered the Roman emperor, he says, I beg your pardon. It's not that we're a tough flock, but we have a tough shepherd. That despite our numbers being so small relative to the world, but just as Avram Avinu, Avram the patriarch, was the Ivri, and he was able to take on the world single-handedly because God was behind him, and therefore number means nothing, quantity means nothing, identically, because we are God's chosen people. At Sinai, he became our God, we became his people, we became the princely, kingly nation, we became his treasure. We assumed the status of his children, therefore he watches over us, and he would not allow us to be totally destroyed, God forbid. And therefore there's always this almost immediate recovery period, both in the spiritual and the material sense. To be able to appreciate who we are, as we had mentioned, there are certain characteristics which are innate to the essence of every Jew. Rachmonim, Baisharim Gomli Chasodim, having compassion, having conscience, and doing acts of loving kindness, benevolence. There's a question which is obvious. There's no more liberal segment of the population than Jews. We find Jews are very, very liberal. What is the basis for this behavior pattern? That we behave, if there's a cause, as outlandish as the cause may seem or be, as unrelated as the issue may be to our existence or our people, for some reason, the Jew gets involved and assumes responsibility for that. The question is why. Every human being, to be fully effective and functional, needs focus. One who has greater focus if one functions within a very specific infrastructure. If a Jew lives within the context of the positive and negative commandments prescribed by God at Sinai, that is, or those are the parameters which the Jew is limited to. Our conscience manifests itself within that context. Are we behaving properly or are we not? Do we have what to feel guilty about because we failed? Because more is expected of us. But if a person doesn't have those guidelines and those strictures to limit a person's behavior, then having conscience, which is guilt, if there's a cause that has to be addressed, although it's unrelated to us, if no one is addressing that cause, we have tremendous guilt if we ourselves believe that we have the ability to address it if we don't address it. Therefore, you will find that Jews who are less committed, or the limits are only to the extent that when you push the limits, those Jews are most liberal. And the Jews who have no limits, those are the most liberal and the most revolting or rebellious. We find that all the innovators of all the isms in Europe, anarchism, socialism, communism, whatever it was, because they had no strictures to hold them within those parameters which were set, the human mind, with its genius, could formulate and justify and rationalize and justify even the most deviant, perverted type of behavior. As we see the people of Sodom were evil, and the Torah expresses it as Roim Chatoim Lashem Od. They were evil and they sinned defiantly against God to a great degree, and God ultimately destroyed them. Because again, who is their God? Their God was themselves. I'd asked, at one time, being civilized was synonymous with believing in God, which today is no longer the case. A person doesn't have to be a believer to be seen as a prominent member of society, as many other types of behavior patterns. These people have lost shame totally. What was considered deviant behavior and what was considered an alternate lifestyle today, unfortunately, society has sunk to a level which everything is accepted. And the terminologies, you push the envelope as far as you can. That's what it's about. But at one time, when you would ask a person, do you believe in God? The person says, definitely. And you would ask the person, what does God want from you? He wants, I should be a good person. The question is, what does good mean? Does good mean that you abide by societal ethics and morals? Is that what good means? Is it only limited to that? Does it also mean what you believe to be good and what to be not good? What to be evil? Is that what God wants from you? So the person says yes. But the question is, how do you know that's what God wants? Maybe what you consider good is not good. And God considers good something other than what you consider good. So unless you truly know what God wants, it's just God happens only to be a figment of your imagination. And basically, you're writing your own script in terms of what God would want and what God would not want. As we say, anybody to the right of me is a fanatic. Anybody to the left of me is a heretic. And where am I? I stand right in the middle. Basically, as I said, of course, it's better to say you believe in God, because certain things which are pretty much etched in stone, which are basic beliefs, such as murder, which is not so simple any longer. What's mercy killings and what's murder? Cold-blooded murder. Maybe that society would consider this is something which is cruelty unacceptable. But very few things cannot be justified. I had said there was a famous debate in Oxford many years ago, and it was with Dennis Prager, who's a Jewish thinker, not an observant man, not bound by Sinai principles and beliefs and tradition, and a priest and some secular professor. And the question was, does religion play a role in one's conscience of how to value a human being? And they had taken a poll in England of teenagers, and the question posed to them was that if their dog was drowning and a human being was drowning, who would they save? The human being or their dog? Man's best friend. The vast majority of teenagers said they would save the dog over the human being, and they would allow the human being to drown. So it's proven from here that conscience has nothing to do with what a person believes in his own right, but rather it has to be set in tradition. What is a human being and what is his innate value? And only then could a person function within those parameters.